For hundreds of thousands of years, our species was born, lived, and died, all on a single continent. But then, in what's really just a blink of an eye in geological time, something happened, something that would change the destiny of our species forever. So let's dive into one of the most consequential stories ever told, humanity's great journey out of Africa. Okay, so here's the central mystery we're going to unravel together. Anatomically modern humans, people with bodies and brains just like ours, they evolved in Africa about 300,000 years ago. And yet for the vast majority of our time on this planet, we just stayed put. So what happened? What was the trigger? What flipped the switch that sent a small band of our ancestors out to populate the entire globe? To get to the bottom of that, we first have to really appreciate this long wait. For hundreds of thousands of years, Africa wasn't just a continent. It was our entire world. It was our cradle. I mean, the sheer scale of time here is just staggering. We first show up around 300,000 BCE, but the journey that would eventually take us everywhere, that doesn't really kick off until around 70,000 BCE. And you can see these earlier attempts to leave, these brave, pioneering efforts that just kind of flickered out. So why did those first groups fail? Well, the world they walked into was a really tough place. The climate was all over the map, super unstable, which made it hard to get a permanent foothold. And, maybe most importantly, they weren't alone. Eurasia was already home to our very successful cousins, the Neanderthals, who had been thriving there for ages. So what changed around 70,000 BCE? Well, it wasn't one single thing. It was more like a perfect storm. A whole bunch of factors all coming together that created both the pressure to leave and, for the first time, the tools to actually succeed. Okay, so we can basically break this perfect storm down into 4 key drivers. You've got dramatic climate change, then a near-extinction event that, weirdly enough, set the stage for our expansion. Then there's the development of a revolutionary new toolkit, and finally, our social lives were getting a whole lot more complex. Now, this part of the story is wild. The genetic bottleneck. Right around the time of the Big Migration, our species almost went extinct. The entire human population might have shrunk to just a few thousand people, the size of a small town today. It was a serious brush with extinction, but the small, tough group that made it through was perfectly poised for what came next. It's also why all humans alive today are, genetically speaking, incredibly similar to each other. But the survivors weren't just lucky, right? They were equipped with some serious new advantages. They developed this sophisticated new toolkit: sharper, more reliable stone blades, bone tools for sewing clothes, and, this is crucial, the first real signs of symbolic thought, things like art and jewelry. This wasn't just about surviving anymore. This was about culture, about communication. It gave them the adaptability they needed to face any new environment the world could throw at them. So, they've got their new tools. They've been forged by this near disaster. Our ancestors were finally ready. Now we get to see how their incredible journey unfolded across the entire planet. It looks like there were 2 main superhighways out of Africa. Some groups took a northern route up through the Sinai Peninsula, which put them in direct contact and definitely in competition with the Neanderthals in Europe. But it seems like a lot of others took a southern route, crossing the Red Sea into Arabia and then just hugging the coast. And that coastal route, it turned out to be a total game changer. And you want proof that it was a game changer? By about 50,000 BCE, humans had reached Australia. Just let that sink in for a second. In only 20,000 years, which is a heartbeat in evolutionary time, they had traveled from Africa all the way along the coast of Asia and made a sea crossing to an entirely new continent. It's an absolutely mind-blowing achievement. And this is where the story gets even more incredible. The world our ancestors were expanding into, it wasn't empty. Not at all. It was already populated by other kinds of humans. Yeah, we were just one branch of a much bigger hominin family tree. So who did we meet out there? Well, in Europe and West Asia, you had the famous Neanderthals. Further east, we ran into the mysterious Denisovans, a group we really only know about from a few fragments of DNA. And then on the islands of Southeast Asia, you had other human types, like the small-statured Homo floresiensis, who got the nickname hobbits. Now, our arrival often meant they disappeared, but it wasn't just a simple story of replacement. And we know this because, incredibly, we carry the evidence of those encounters inside us right now. If your ancestry is from anywhere outside of Africa, about 1 to 2% of your DNA is Neanderthal DNA. It's a direct genetic fossil, a ghost in our genome from tens of thousands of years ago. And that right there brings us to the ultimate legacy of this ancient journey. See, this isn't just ancient history. It's a story that is literally written in the DNA of every single one of us today. This is the really profound takeaway. That one small band of survivors who left Africa all those years ago, they are the direct ancestors of virtually everyone living outside of Africa today. Billions and billions of people, all from one incredible foundational journey. This was the moment humanity truly became a global species. And this really puts it all into perspective. While we are overwhelmingly Homo sapiens, so many of us carry this small but really significant genetic echo of the other human species we met along the way. It's just this beautiful reminder that our human story is one of connection, competition, and a whole lot of complex mixing. You know, when it comes right down to it, this journey tells us something fundamental about who we are as a species. It reveals this deep-seated resilience to overcome near extinction, the amazing creativity to invent new ways of life, and this powerful, powerful restlessness that just drove us to see what was over the next horizon. Which leaves us with one final big question. That same restlessness, that same drive for exploration took us from one continent to the entire planet. So as we look to the future, where is it going to take us next? What is humanity's next great journey?